People are wondering why we're in a certain mood. I think the next story we're gonna get in. This is what's gonna take up this podcast here.
This is where you take it away. This is where you guys who know so much more on the subject.
I appreciate your perspective for sure on this.
Yeah, we do want your perspective because I think it's going to transition into to broader media stuff.
Especially, this is also going to be a little self-reflective because Giantbomb is kind of why we're doing what we're doing. It's why this is happening in a sense. I know Bronson, you were writing stuff on the Rooster Teeth blog, and you were watching GameSpot and all that. But for me, it was like we were talking about video games. I think we started before I got into Giantbomb, but this was the inspiration.
Because I remember I showed you Giantbomb a little bit after I knew about them, which was like May of 2008. And then we started like a couple months later.
You showed me. So Giantbomb happened. You probably told me about it. We had our Halo 3 custom game match that started GameCraft in like June or July, and then I remember experiencing my first Giantbomb thing actually in December. So you might have been telling me about it, but I was moving to a completely different state and was busy with other stuff.
All these years later, the actual story being that the future of their website is in doubt because the big guys are leaving. The big guys.
In doubt is such a that this site has experienced a number of deaths, and this one's like, we're just waiting for them to write it down.
They dodged years worth of bullets is what was happening several times, but this one, the corpos finally got the headshot they've been wanting all this time. When
you came and you asked me to get more involved with this channel, a part of your pitch about doing this with you guys was that you were like, I think that there is you said you think that there is more of a market for this kind of games media content because Giantbomb died.
Yeah.
And the viewers, the refugees of Giantbomb, have a thirst and a hunger for people talking about video games. And then I'm learning now Giantbomb is dying again, a more deadly death.
Before, like, they at least had some stuff going on, like Dan Reichert was still doing stuff, but now it's like, nah, dog, this is dead.
So
this is so explain. So Aaron, hit us with what happened this week with this lovely this lovely stuff that went down.
Fandom, piece of shit website.
They've ruined wikis.
Wiki, game wiki people, and I guess just wiki in general. They do like nerd wiki stuff. But they suck, and so they took ownership of Giantbomb. Do they own GameSpot too? Was that a both deal?
Yep, they own GameSpot, and I think they even own Comic Line.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, they own Metacritic too. Oh fuck, they own Metacritic. Fuck me.
Yeah. Well.
God.
So they were doing their thing at Giantbomb, which we haven't been paying attention to really for a while, but it's been like Dan Reichert and Jeff Grubb and all those people. They've been covering video games, but they're also just making fun content for people to enjoy. And they got yelled at, I guess, for not being brand safe. And you need to be good with the brand of fandom. The wonderful brand that is fandom. You need to be in line with it.
Well, yeah, it is because of they because they are an SEO hole, they want to be appealing to every advertiser in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to be PG-13 or less. And if you have ever known anything about Giant Bomb, they're never been that.
Yep.
At
It's kind
all.
of part of the ethos when it started.
Yep. Duncan, I sent you that clip about the steam cocaine laundering plan.
Steam cocaine laundering. Yeah. That's certainly not brand safe behavior.
No, it's not. There's a lot of things that are not brand safe.
Those vile villains, how dare they?
It's wild,
what of
though.
the ads? What of the brand?
It's wild, though, because there are tons of people who do very similar behavior in creating content all over the place where advertisers are putting their stuff out. But
it's not all advertisers. It's not every advertiser you could ever imagine.
Yeah, that is a thing, is that if you decide that you want to make even just edgy jokes, you've probably locked yourself out of 30-40% of the available advertisers in the market, which not a huge deal, but it definitely means that the rate that you get per ad is lower than it could theoretically be if you were completely brand safe.
So I understand that, these people have, brain damage and don't understand what Giant Bomb is or how it functions or what its appeal is. But I find it hard to believe that in a world where some of the biggest, content creators who are, a place to do advertisements like XQC and Hassan and Asmongold, and really, you're going to get on Giant Bomb for its shit? Have you seen this world?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, is those are two individuals that, and that's part of Twitch's ad problems, right? Twitch has this issue too.
Twitch does have a pretty severe ad problem.
That's one problem of many for Twitch, but yeah.
They got effectively blacklisted from receiving ads for a lot of Twitch's advertisers. The thing is that when you are brand safe, you have more access to ads, but having no audience or hosts makes you have even less access to ads.
You don't understand the thing that you have.
Yep.
You killed the website. You're not saving this.
And they put out a pair of really tone deaf posts on the forums and on social media. Let me read this. This is truly, did you know Giant Bomb live streaming is temporarily paused? We understand this programming pause isn't ideal for our audience, but it's part of a strategic reset and realignment of our media brands. Ugh. We appreciate your patience. We built the next phase of exciting gaming and entertainment content for fans everywhere. Out of privacy for our team, will not comment on any staffing changes. We know you have questions and want answers. Our promise to you, we'll update you in real time as soon as we have more information. Stay tuned for more updates, and we will be keeping this thread open as a place for you to discuss these changes.
Corporate brick wall of a post.
And then there is 785 posts of saying, who the fuck is this guy, and telling him to fuck himself and his corporate owners. Basically. So, that bit, in short, they don't understand what they bought, because anyone who have followed this site in any incarnation from 08 to present, it was like the personalities. That carried that place, like the personalities, and then the fun ideas to use with those personalities and that content, and that's what kept it alive and doing well. And yeah, no man, no one, none fucking did
This goes back to. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead first. Okay, well then I will go ahead.
All right, all right.
It is in line. It is in line with fandoms. From what I understand, their general market strategy to do things like this, right? And fandom is evil. I hate them deeply. And what their general strategy is that they make acquisitions and then they just make those things worse. They literally just purchase websites, existing communities, and they then take those websites and they make them less functional by putting ads in more intrusive places and selling more ads. So their entire business strategy is, we're going to purchase a wiki, we're going to make it a fandom wiki, and then we're going to fill it with ads. And we're going to take the wiki space and we're going to just destroy it by making it less functional, but more advertiser friendly. And they've done this in a ton of places. You know, like I said, they own Metacritic now. Their strategy largely hinges on being fundamentally necessary parts of the ecosystems that they're entering, which is why they're having such a clear problem with Giantbomb, I would surmise, is that Giantbomb, while historically important, is not like a linchpin holding gaming media together. It's just a famous gaming it's a famous gaming media group, not the thing you have to go to have something. And most of fandom's properties are things that you need to use and don't really have an alternative to for a lot of the stuff that is that you're trying to interact with. A great example would be Hollow Knight's wiki. There's a great video by Mossbag explaining how the Hollow Knight community had to completely reboot their wiki because fandom owned the Hollow Knight wiki and just made it like inoperable.
Great.
And so the entire community had to completely split. There's still major games that have issues with this. It's difficult to get the correct Minecraft wiki because fandom has a wiki they refuse to shut down that is a worse wiki for Minecraft that comes up in all of the search results when you search for Minecraft information. So there's 2 Minecraft wikis.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get you a browser add-on that during all of this nonsense, during all of this, Jeff Gerstmann posted a thing being like, hey, here's a thing that blocks fandom wikis. Is basically the long and short of it. Yeah. That's what it does. That's how it functions.
I'll absolutely use that.
Yeah.
Well, let me get that for you.
That would be great. I tried to pull it up a bit ago. Last time I checked it, it didn't work for me, so I need to make sure. I need to go through and figure out what it is to make it an indie wiki, buddy. It should be. Is that the one that you're...
Even for me not knowing a lot about Giantbomb, I'd say that this is a surprising thing to me to hear that fandom has nuclear bombed another property.
Yeah, it's just like, not only have they nuclear, like, yes, I don't think they understand what they bought or anything about it. Like, GameSpot totally is in their line of thinking. Like, GameSpot is already just in SEO hellscape. You know, like, I don't even know. Like, I honestly don't know how that place stays together or why anyone would use the forums there anymore. But it is what it is.
Buddy.
Yep.
That's it. So be on the lookout.
There you go.
If you wanna support not supporting fandom and what they're doing.
I may well add that part of the issue though is that some of the fandom wikis you do need to use. Some communities don't have a not fandom wiki.
Right.
And so you're like, well, I guess I gotta use it.
Yeah, the beauty is, you can thankfully just like turn it on and off when you need to, if you really need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another community with the same problem, Terraria. Terraria has a fantastic wiki and a fandom wiki. And when you search stuff up, sometimes you get the fandom wiki.
Yep.
So yeah, like I think that you look at like all the people that came out of Giantbomb. You look at all the I kind of had a feeling that after Jason, Jess, and Jeff all got fired in very quick succession by fandom, that this was on the way. In fact, good on them for keeping it going for 3 years.
Well, that's the thing. They've like been able to hang on to a portion of the Giant Bomb audience, and it seems like also gain like a new, different audience that have been wrapped into like the whole history of Giant Bomb now. Like I was like, good for them. They figured out their things. They had like a Blight Club, which I don't know much about, but it seems like they got their own show that's like people like, and it's awesome. And Dan's been leading the charge on that. I think Jeff Grubb is great. I think they've had strong personalities there for a while. It just wasn't the group that I had my parasocial relationship with, So
That's
what it is,
Well, it's you tune in for your weekly feeling like you have friends to talk about video games with.
You got to understand, for me specifically, I moved across the country around the time we had just a few months after we started GameCraft, and then I was introduced to Giant Bomb, and then I was there for 2 years in this area that I didn't gel with at all. I'm very much a West Coast person, I learned at this point. Was struggling to make friends with anyone, did not care about school or anything. I just did what I had to do, and then came back home and played video games. And Giant Bomb was this fantastic place of these 4 guys who just worked very well together, who had this very specific attitude, not just about like video games, but like, running a video game website within the video game media space that I really responded to. It was a really cool organic energy to witness in the moment.
Yes, I had friends here locally, but none of them besides Aaron were nearly as much into video games. And then he moved. So it was a very similar situation. And then I think on top of that, it was like, it's just no one else was doing anything like it. I think that the only thing that came close, and they were shackled behind a lot of what IGN was doing, was like the earliest stages of Podcast Beyond with the guys that would go on to become kind of funny. And then Rooster Teeth. And then Rooster Teeth ended up just being wrong a lot of the time about a lot of shit. So I just drifted. I like, as much as I loved Red versus Blue, I drifted away from everything else they were doing.
Even Red versus Blue got really bad.
Yes, but like at this time they weren't. They were still really good. Yeah. It's just like you would listen to their gaming podcast and like, that's not right. That's a shitty take. That's dumb. And then
all
like,
the uh-ohs happened.
Yes, so it just pushed me like all the way into Giant Bomb until the Super Best Friends cast. I started listening to that in like 2016. So like,
and then I'll say that this isn't the only example of a legacy media group dispersal resulting in, other successful people coming out of it. I mean, in fact, Rooster Teeth that we just talked about, they disappeared, and everyone in it went on to just go make like new podcasts and stuff, and they're perfectly fine now.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's happening on Giant Bomb, is like, you have a bunch of people that become Twitch streamers and become their own thing, and there's already a bunch of leaks that Dan Reichert, Mike Minotti, Jeff Grubb, and one other person are making something called Party Mode. That's what they're calling it. Like Vinny, Brad, and
Alex
made Nextlander. Jeff made the Jeff Gerstmann Show. Like, you have the big concern that a lot of people have expressed is just, hopefully there's enough money in this fan base to go around for the separate Patreons. And I do think that's a concern, because like, the games media podcast or product is not exactly on people's priority list as a whole. And they, realistically, most people will subscribe to one or two. That's kind of the.
How much of this do you think is them maybe not vibing together in the modern day like they used to? And just wanting to be on separate media things and not necessarily working with the same cast as before? Because that's what happened with Super Best Friends, right? Is that they split apart because they were like, listen, we don't all want to work with each other anymore.
So we have to be careful.
We're gonna do our own thing.
We have to be careful because there's been a history in Giant Bomb discussion of assuming that people don't like each other, and then they're like, "What the fuck are you people talking about? Like everything's fine."
Did you know Ryan hates Brad?
Ryan hates Brad.
You know Ryan
Terrible.
hates Brad.
Oh, Brad's gonna leave.
Okay.
So it's a years long running joke at Giant Bomb. People just assuming people hate each other and then talking about it in the comments, and then they look at the comments like, you people are nuts. What do you so on the one hand, like when Jeff left, I was like, I'm going to not speculate, but I feel like something really weird happened between these groups. And with the stories that have been coming out with this new story, it sounds like it's just like, oh, it's corporate being corporate again. That's basically it. Maybe there's other stuff, maybe there's not, but I'm not gonna, assume.
The weirdest one is, Jeff and Nextlander.
Yes.
The rest of these I get. Like I get why like Patrick would rather go work on Remap with the people on Waypoint Radio.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I understand. I understand why Austin Walker is off doing his tabletop thing.
Makes sense.
It's just entirely different.
Yep.
Like the weird one is those original Thor.
So okay, so here's my thought with this is that you look at what Nextlander is doing because okay, so you think about the history of Giant Bomb. You think about in the early years, they were trying to do their own take on the video game news website. They were being their silly selves, irreverent selves, but they were also, here's a video review. I'm going to stand and do the video review, and I'm going to put out this written review. And then, they brought Patrick in, and he's breaking news stories about the Infinity Ward stuff, and like he's doing like actual news. But over time, and this is something that like the whole site like slowly pivoted toward, is they were figuring out the personality website space. Like, what if we're just personality videos and podcasts and stuff, and that's what drives it? We're talking about video game industry stuff, and that's where our value is, but like, or where our base value is anyway. But it's personality stuff, and it's us having fun and finding, Dan Reichert comes in and he wants to do like Mario Party or Steal My Sunshine, just different mini games out of video games, and people are having fun. They did a lot of great stuff with that. Now you look at how they split up. They obviously split up, awkwardly because 3 people decided to leave while Jeff decided to stay. And then Jeff ended up getting fired and was going to leave, like a year or so later. You look at what they've talked about and what they've talked about and what they've been doing. Nextlander, Vinny, Brad, and Alex are doing what Giant Bomb's been, which is, yo dog, we're going to have a games podcast. We're going to talk about video games news. We're also going to talk about our own lives. And then we're going to do essentially like Let's Plays and quick looks, and we're going to jump on and play video games, and we're going to have a good time together. And like, that's Giant Bomb to a T. Like they're doing it.
Yep.
Jeff is doing Giant Bomb stuff, but he has said out loud that he wants to build this into something bigger. I think he still wants to be like video game news coverage site. And I think those are just different priorities.
I don't know. I think Jeff wants the combo that Giant Bomb was.
Sure.
That was both, that they were doing both.
I mean, yes, he's doing like the energy drink rank. I don't know if he's still doing the energy drink rankings, but
he is.
He is. Okay.
He is. He's also still ranking the NES games,
which makes sense. Yeah. No, he still does funny, silly stuff, but like,
right.
It just, I wonder if their priorities for what they want their projects to be are just different.
I guess I think one thing about Next, and that does make sense because like one thing about Nextlander that I find weird is they don't do a video podcast.
I do
And it
find that
actually
weird, but they
really-
already do, because like they already have. Because does the podcast upload onto YouTube even in audio form?
No, they don't upload the podcast to YouTube at all.
I don't understand that. That seems weird, but okay.
I don't. Yeah, I don't either. Especially because like it might also be a scheduling thing as well. Like the fact that you know the East Coast versus West Coast, that 3-hour time difference. You know that's part of it.
Putting them all together. Yeah, they are committed to the coast that they're on, so that doesn't help things. I mean, I still think there's an argument to be made of like y'all should do like a hotspot equivalent and just do like a once a month thing, and then.
So here's what it really is. Here's what happened. Okay. Here's the scoop. I obviously am the one who knows. Jeff Gertzman had a secret love child with all three of the hosts of the other show.
I was gonna say which one of the three,
right? All three. Right. It was.
I was gonna say Benny. I was gonna guess Benny.
The chaotic child that would be spawned from those two.
And they were able to spontaneously create a child, and they were having their married life until one day it turned out one of the Nextlanders was cheating with one of the other Nextlanders, and in fact both of the other Nextlanders. It was a three-way cheating all on Jeff Gertzman.
Damn.
And they said he found out we need to divorce him because they were all married, and we need to divorce him and take the child across state lines before he can get custody rights. And that's why they're on different coasts.
Okay.
And there's a bitter feud of blood and hatred.
Well, what I've learned is what properly settles these disputes over custody over children is to have a match this Sunday at SummerSlam for the custody of the child.
Right.
If that's the case, my money is on
Dr. Tracksuit.
My money's on Jeff. He's got Dr. Tracksuit. I mean, come on. You got Dr. Tracksuit, bro.
Doesn't Alex manage the wolf?
He could take out all three others.
Alex does manage the wolf.
So Dr. Tracksuit versus the wolf. I don't know.
That's a pretty good match.
Yeah. But
I just League of Heels. League of Heels was the best part about fucking PAX. It became the best part of PAX.
That was fun. That was a good time.
League of Heels was so fucking stupid. Someone bring that back. Lord.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think there is a context in which you could bring those four together. I mean, I think that's the thing. The big overarching story of what Giant Bomb is and what this news story essentially signals the end of is Giant Bomb was ahead of the curve in so many ways, and it was cool until it became their downfall, which is that they started doing their monthly subscription specifically to Giant Bomb and trying to generate money, and then eventually getting bought by CBSI because they couldn't make enough money. And then like a year or so later, Patreon starts. And if this had happened,
it becomes normal to do subscription services right after.
They would have done it. They'd be done. They would go back to being, they would have stayed independent. They would be the red letter media of video games, and it would have been fine. And it just didn't happen. And
more context that came out of this. I don't think Jeff publicly acknowledges it. I don't think it's like a huge deal. He's said multiple times that he's on good terms with them. And I believe it, but I do think he was a little hurt by them leaving. He has said publicly that, like, yeah, man, when like I got, I didn't. He said it on BGB. It's just like, yeah, I got way too attached to the site, like to the Giant Bomb name and the Giant Bomb thing I worked on for years, and like, yeah, I'd be kind of hurt when people would leave and shit. And that might have just been Abby and Ben and other people, but I think that could apply to the Nextlander people as well. Maybe
also,
not as
like we've heard numerous stories of how corporate has mistreated them And at some point, I just
absolutely.
don't. I'm not saying that Jeff's feelings weren't valid on all this. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, man. When you step back, like that, this has nothing to do with Jeff, and just has to do with, like, God, these corporate owners do not understand what Giant Bomb is. I don't know why they bought us, really, to be honest. Like,
I mean, I could see a scenario where someone in his position is like, this has been my baby for so long. I want to figure out if we can just stick it through and get something to happen, like what happened with College Humor, where they were able to buy themselves and kind of fix the situation and became Dropout, or just hoping there's some way you can salvage this thing that has been kind of your legacy, right? Like, if you start something like this and it goes for so long and your name is so deeply associated with it, there's probably a sense of, I don't want to just get out because it's really inconvenient, and we've weathered so much before this, maybe we can figure out a way out of this situation at some point, as long as we just stick with it. And having other people give up on that before you can put you in this position where you're like, damn, that sucks. I thought they were really with me, even if they're right in the end, it still means that in the moment you're like, fuck, man.
I totally understand that sentiment, but it's very funny because, like, one of the revelations that came out of the VGBs thing, well, I don't know if it was a revelation. I think we knew this beforehand, but the first person that wanted to get out of Giant Bomb after it got bought was Jeff. That's the funny thing.
Also, that at the same time, he's just like, when we got bought by CBSI, Dave Snyder was like, block with me. Hey, now that we have sold this is not you need to become less emotionally attached. This is theirs now. And this advice he did not heed, as he says.
He himself says he didn't heed that advice, which is good advice.
And like, he even says, like, I'll think about, like there are other founders who are better than I, who can be like, I'm glad that thing still exists and I'm glad it's still doing okay. That was not me.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I completely share Jeff's mindset on this shit, where it's just like, if I was in that situation, I would have Jeff's exact sentiment of, I would leave the company and be like, good, I hope it fucking burns.
Right.
Oh, it burns the fucking ground.
Yeah.
So yeah. No.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of them coming together, getting the old four back together again, that would be the final, like, step of this whole process of this story of, like, Giant Bomb is this story of going independent against, like, the corporate awfulness that happened with GameSpot, and Giant Bomb grew out of that and fought against that, and then was just leading the charge in terms of personality-based content around video games, and, like,
streaming. Like, they were fucking live streaming 4 years before Justin TV existed.
Right. And
like, that's fucking crazy.
They were leading the charge on podcast advertisement as a source of revenue, and could not get corporate to get the backing for it, which is insane when you think about podcasting now.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you and I have gone through the revenue stuff here, where we're less like, oh, it sucks that edited content is going to be the thing that's going to grow us, because the thing that makes all the money is the podcast.
Podcasts make way more money.
Yep,
they do.
Yeah, and so and they were on the ahead of the curve on that, and they were ahead of the curve on the monthly subscription to support your creators. Like, they were doing all of this, and they saw it coming, and no one who ended up being in control of the website wanted to listen, and just flushed thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars down the drain. And they're doing it again. So, I mean, what Giant Bomb is now is not going to make you thousands upon thousands of dollars, but people do listen to the Bombcast, and there's advertisements there. Right. So, there's money.
The Bombcast is a top 10 video game podcast.
Still?
Still,
Yeah.
fucking still.
Fuck, man.
Well, probably
Not
not
for long.
anymore. But
Well, no, not anymore. But this recent iteration of Giant Bomb, like that's still in the top 10, huh?
that's still in the top 10. The Bombcast is a goddamn institution.
And there's money to be made there. That's how you do your, like, if you're not trying to milk every goddamn penny, which will then burn your site to the ground, but they can't think past the next quarter, you know? Ooh, man.
It's wild to me. By the way, due to all the drama this week, VGBs is the top gaming podcast this week.
I bet.
A thing I would point out too is that another group we of course mentioned earlier, Super Best Friends, breaking apart. Castle Super Beast, the sequel podcast to the Super Best Friend cast, is something that both of them still do, despite having completely separate careers now. Or it's specifically Wooly and Pat. They do it despite having completely separate careers now. They don't make videos together. They haven't for quite a long time, especially since Pat is now living on the other side of Canada. And they still do the podcast because it clearly is a huge part of their revenue. Like it's just like so much money comes from podcast advertising in comparison to Twitch streaming or YouTube videos that, like, both of them are like, we'll just do the podcast still, no matter what.
Like Matt left that money on the table, and that's fine. But you look, the reason Hard and Funny is in business still is because they have 4 different varied podcasts that all run about 2 to 3 ads each.
Yeah. I will also say Matt is getting a little bit of his money with Triple KO with Maximilian Dude and Justin Wong. So there's a little bit of that podcast.
I forgot that they.
The entire diaspora of Rooster Teeth, for example, all went out and made podcasts. That's what every single one of them did. Is they got together and they said, all right, we had this podcast and we're going to make another podcast, and we had this podcast and we're going to make another podcast, and there's like 5 podcasts that were born out of the death of Rooster Teeth. That's such a crazy downfall too, because there are figures that have been out of Rooster Teeth longer than they were in Rooster Teeth that are still deeply, like Ray Narvaez Jr., who still is deeply associated with Rooster Teeth, despite having been a streamer for 7 years, and he only worked there for 2.
Man.
Well, I pulled up the top gaming podcast on Apple Podcasts right now. This week, the entire structure of this has been kind of annihilated by 2 things. One is the Switch stuff right now,
right,
and then the other is the Giant Bomb thing. Giant Bomb is down to 15, and then it's a mix of Jeff Grubb has 2 and Mike Venati have 2 podcasts on here at number 2 and number 8. IGN is number 4 and number 7, and then Kind of Funny is 3 and 6, and then
we just got a description.
I don't know who the hell Side Story is. I have no idea who this they're new too. Oh
yeah.
And then they got the Goons podcast.
The Goons.
We are Goons.
Title alone, it must be successful.
Yeah, exactly. You know. But yeah, so it's they were an institution, and just to kill that for what feels like no goddamn apparent reason.
Well,
just gross.
This goes back to what we were talking about, which is this kind of business does not make exponential, growth.
No,
it's a profitable business, but that simply is not enough for these companies that are buying this up. And so it is this struggle of the way to support these efforts to cover video games is to just directly support them, which means we need to we as people who support these sites need to divert our money to try and keep everything alive. Spinning plates of our $5.
You get $5. All right, now this month you get $5.
Here
now,
you go, Aftermath. Here you go, Remap. Oh God. Oh no.
I was just like, oh, kind of funny. Oh, LSM.
Right.
Oh, Jeff Gerstmann show. You know,
you better believe Video Games Chronicle. This podcast is giving money to Video Games Chronicle. God damn it.
Yeah, this podcast kind of has to fund Video Games Chronicle, or else we can't do the show.
Morally obligated. These people do such great work.
No, like, and the thing is, it's just like the best that you can hope for is like kind of funny. A lot, you know, I've talked about how I don't like the way they do certain things because it feels like they are too dependent on outside advertising, and that because they have a giant studio. And I'm just like, yo, homie, if you could have just run this out of your bedroom, you didn't have to do this. But it's impressive, and I think that's honestly the best you can hope for is having a small studio to be able to afford and do stuff and get out there. But I think most people are, you know, kind of it's a million small Patreons.
Red Letter Media is the dream. Like is what you're saying here is like Red Letter Media is what everyone would like to become. Is you have a studio, you could put stuff out, and you keep doing what you're doing.
Yep. They don't even do podcasts. They don't even care. Like they're just putting out whatever videos they want, and then they have a Patreon. That's it.
Which, I mean, hey guys, I have good news. We can become that.
Right.
I mean,
we got there's some people that got a head start, but it's okay.
I mean, we can get everything but the making money part if I move to where y'all are at, basically.
That's true.
I mean, that will make it so we can make the money, right?
Theoretically, yeah. If nothing else, we have good times. But
Anthony's seen it. I've got a great space for recording.
I have this office is basically 2 desks and an entirely empty floor. We have plenty of space here as well. So
I don't know, man. Yeah, this site was the dream, and it can't fully become what it was again. To try and explain it is difficult. The closest I've come to is when Maximilian Dude has everyone over and they're all sitting on the couch in the same room playing some old fighting game. That's the closest it's gotten.
Yep.
Because man, I would actually kill for Red Letter Media to like sit on a couch and do a live stream and they're just watching movie trailers or something and talking shit. That would also be pretty close.
Very cool.
But
I think a poignant statement to bring up was that from Grubb here. What was his first name? Jeff
Grubb.
Jeff Grubb. Okay,
Grubbs.
He said, "Well, that was a dream come true. Knew it wouldn't last though. Out of a job at the moment, but I'll always be doing patreon.com/gamemess."
Yep.
Everyone's got a show, everyone's got a Patreon, and I gotta be honest, if we were better organized as people who played video games and wanted to support video game creators in whatever form it takes, if we funnel our money to like our money and attention to the independent creators, and it takes a lot of like organization of our efforts, requires, you know, stuff that we don't have in this moment to make that happen. But that's, if we wanted to create the future that needs to be, that's what it is.
You're right. People should go to patreon.com/action button to support my goat, Tim Rogers.
And another 6 hours. Man, if only donating money could afford like a hyperbolic time chamber for Tim Rogers.
I mean, 6 hours is, you say 6 hours, but his most recent video was actually 9.5.
Fuck me.
I'm great. I'm good, dog. Thank you.
You know what it is? It's literally just a 9.5 hour long summary of everything that happens in LA Noire.
God damn, that's a lot.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but all I could say is this was a magical time, and it's something that in making in doing Super Gamecraft, and what we kind of take for inspiration is just trying to get as close as we can to making that again.
I one of their series that they did the first year of the site was How to Build a Bomb. And I saw this post on the Reddit, and it was pretty poetic. The only reason you build a bomb is to eventually blow it up.
Right.
Yep.
So
poetic.
Yep.
Long live Giant
well,
Bomb.
as you both predicted before the podcast, this was in fact a giant section of our coverage today.
Yep.
And it pairs well with our next story. Polygon has been sold to Valnet with the majority of its staff laid off.
Which is another SEO click farm nightmare, and they're gonna milk it for every penny because they're soulless fucking demons.
Yep.
Yes,
which pairs well with what we were saying. It's just like I don't know how we're going to spread all our money and attention to all these creators, but this is just going to keep happening. This space exists solely to farm SEO, to get as many eyes to look at something, trick them into looking at something to get ad revenue, and just useless information as far as trying to get information and commentary on video games and video game industry news. And
Polygon really Polygon's reviews were like kind of hit or miss because like a lot of reasons, but their news coverage was genuinely great. It's unfortunate. And you think about all the great people who were there, right? Like, and it feels like that this like way of doing games coverage is officially dead. It feels like is IGN gonna hire everyone? No, they just had layoffs.
Yep.
And it's like you can't go to any of these websites without an ad blocker because you're gonna
it's definitely a pain. It's definitely a pain to navigate games media a lot of the time. And I mean, Polygon, from what I understand, I've never been a huge reader of them, but I have heard that they have been not great for a while.
I mean, when we started this latest push for Super Gamecraft, I had been taking a break, and I forget, we were passing around ideas for SGK Daily, and then I decided I'm going to look around what video game news is like now, and like, first of all, it was dire, generally, like just dire, like what we are seeing with what's happening to Giantbomb and Polygon is happening with a number of other sites. And Polygon was fine. It wasn't amazing. Like IGN was the top one in terms of being a video game news site. But Polygon was far from the worst of what was going on out there. Like Kotaku, I was actually struggling to find a proper news story, and it was all these articles of like, here's what's for Godzilla skin in Fortnite. Here's how, and it's like,
so the biggest influence right now, I'd say, in games media is the Internet Explorer default page. Unironically, it's like a wild amount of the traffic driven to games media for like traditional news stuff is that auto-generated page in Internet Explorer. And I think companies like Polygon and Kotaku have been shifting a lot of their content such to cater to the thing people will click on when browsing that at work, which is why you get the how to get Fortnite Godzilla skin articles. Because people will click on that because they're like, oh, Fortnite has a Godzilla skin, how do I get it?
25 best 25 best roguelites you can play.
And
there we go.
I mean,
Polygon's obviously put out some great stuff before. I mean, Brian David Gilbert was with Polygon, and he made all those great videos. and it's like they've done interesting stuff. They've been interesting before.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence, especially now, that Polygon going forward is going to be a great media outlet, given that they
they're dead.
they fired the majority of their staff.
Yeah, this is going to be an SEO shell. This is the new meta for these companies. Like, we are in the end game of it is IGN and it is IGN and VGC. Those are the last two of these kind of websites floating around. The GGs, it's not that there aren't other gaming websites. These are the ones with resources to go to E3 and have an editorial team that is not just a bunch of random dudes and have standards and shit like that. And yeah, so I think these are the last two left.
And then you get people like Washington Post, it's a publication, firing all their games coverage people, and then realizing, oh crap, we don't have anyone to do games coverage, and then just like it's just this horrid mess that is ongoing. Just traditional media not understanding, hey, maybe you should have dedicated people to cover the most profitable media format. How about that?
Well, and this has always been a problem with games media. It's like, and then they go, oh, we can just get like some 20-year-old who's willing to take, $19 an article and have him do it, right?
Yep.
Freelance.
Yep.
To be fair, you can do that, and they will.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I saw in Blue Sky like Polygon's rates that they want to charge now, like for freelancers, and it's like literally $25 to write a 1,000-word guide,
dude,
or something like that.
Crazy.
Like that's like what? And how long do you think it would take you to write 1,000 words of a guide?
Well, so knowing how these articles tend to go, it'd be two paragraphs of actual guide, if that, and then 3 paragraphs before being like, this franchise did this and it was released in, and then another headline of like, what's this for? And then eventually you get to the guide of like how to, like 4 paragraphs down, write the actual guide itself, and then have a bunch of, because you just create an article that's just hitting all the SEO keywords, and then you have to work to replace them all, and then you have the 2 paragraphs of a guide. So if I was trying to get this $25, I would be scamming the fuck out of it and just being like, all right, here, I've got this template, I'm just gonna plug this all in.
So
if I was being genuine, it would take way too much work for $25. But
yeah,
if they're gonna fuck me, I'm gonna fuck them.
I put up my Nintendo video, and that's 2,500 words, and that took about 12-ish hours. So yeah, like, and that's like not able to be printed. Like that has a lot of stuff that I had to ad lib while working on it. So it's like, yeah, pay me an exposure.
That's what it is. At $25, you're not properly paying me. So
I'm gonna be real. The only place right now where like exposure is kind of worth it, because you've seen a lot of people get jobs out of it and like turn it into their own Twitch careers, their own YouTube careers, is getting to be an on-camera person at IGN.
You have to be an on-camera person. That's the only way. Like we were looking at when I was doing that check. I was looking at, or no, Bronson, you found this. I think it was GameSpot. Like people were writing scripts to like talk about the news, and then they would put one of their on-air personalities on front to read it, and they were the in-camera person. And it's like, cool, the person who actually did the writing and the work isn't going to get the exposure necessary. Great.
Right, because you look at I'm gonna try and find one of their video reviews, but they'll do like a video review in GameSpot right now, and it'll be by someone who doesn't work there at all. Like it's a freelancer, and then they'll have one of their like 3 face personalities do the fucking on camera bit or the video review portion. It's fucking stupid and crazy.
It sucks, and that's I
Hmm.
like the people that are the on camera personalities at GameSpot. Like I like Tim
I just think
Hussein.
Lucy James is dope.
Lucy James
Lucy
is dope.
James is awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And so this is not a knock on them, but it's like, man, we can't. This is not sustainable. We can't do this.
You know, every now and then you
Mhm.
get one that crosses over, like Split Fiction. Jessica Cogswell is a writer at GameSpot.
Mm,
But like, yeah, for a lot of these, like, because they do a video review for almost every one of these, right?
right.
But then you look at the you look at the video review, and it's not that. It's someone reading the review, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems so like it. Why would you take that, like, as the writer? Like, what?
Because the industry already was not a promising future 10 years ago.
Yeah,
after
I mean,
the-
yeah, you take it because you need a job, like, you know,
but
it's,
like,
right for IGN or nobody.
I mean,
well, IGN's a different story. IGN actually has staff that they pay and put on camera. Like, that's a different beast. But like this GameSpot thing,
Yeah,
they are higher. Sorry, what?
Oh, I was saying, well, it's right for GameSpot or nothing. That's why they're doing it. Is that they're out there lacking for work, and they go, maybe I'll get hired by IGN if I have a portfolio of posts on GameSpot that performed well.
I mean, yeah, except
guess.
this is a downward trend that we're witnessing. Like, just generally is
And-
the problem.
Well, yeah, like the thing is, like, IGN just had layoffs like the end of last year,
Yep.
so it's like, why would they even keep that? Like, and it's. You look at the GameSpot review of Monster Hunter, and it's like, yeah, review by Richard Wakeling, narrated by Tom Coswell. And that's just
Yeah.
what it is. And I'm like, why would you take that? At that point, go make a YouTube video and try and get out there. Is it really worth the $25, bro?
Yeah.
What a lot of these people are doing is they're putting out stories just for the sake of having a portfolio that might get them hired at a better treating company. That's really
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
The way you get into journalism, and games journalism especially, is you just get out there and you write articles until someone goes, "Oh, I like their articles." That
You're
is
not
willing to not treat you like dirt.
you're not getting into games
That-
journalism.
You're,
Yeah,
you're
it's
not. That like the guy who wrote the Monster Hunter review is actually a year older than me. Freelance game critic, reviews, features, and news for GameSpot, Games Master, PC Gamer, OPM UK, VG 24/7, Wireframe, Kotaku UK, Fandom, Waypoint, Paste, etc. So I'm just like sitting here and like, does this dude like just? Does he just, and like you look at his portfolio and it is literally like, I'm looking at this and I just see GameSpot. Like, this man is trying so hard to get GameSpot Senpai to hire him, is what it looks like.
Oh, that's a rough one to
Yeah.
fight for.
There's the pretty infamous case at IGN of the guy who was stealing content from people. He was
Yep.
plagiarizing.
Philip Muchin?
Yeah, Philip
Yeah,
Muchin.
and he got on camera.
And the way that he accomplished that was that he made YouTube videos. He just made a bunch of YouTube videos, again plagiarizing people. He made a bunch of YouTube videos plagiarizing people that seemed bare minimum competently edited, and he just put stuff out. And he put stuff out long enough that when he applied to IGN, they went, "Yeah, that's pretty good," and he's put a lot of stuff out. So then they hired him, and this is the standard that every media outlet effectively has right now. So there's a lot of people in games media who are eating dirt in hopes that games media becomes big enough again to hire people again, And then when that time comes, they're going to have the 5-year-long portfolio of contributions, which will put them in the position to be working at IGN.
So 2 things. They won't, because, hey, guess what? I have a 10-year portfolio.
Yep.
And there's 1 billion of us, by the way.
Yep.
Like, there's tons of us. That we're all,
as
that's
of
the first
recently, a
thing.
ton from Polygon.
Yeah.
Yes. And 2, and on top of that, that space does exist. It's YouTube.
That's a harder fight. Like, you can't just be writer. You've got to be like advertising yourself. You got to know like some video editing or social media work.
Separate skills.
You gotta expand on that. But that's what it is.
You can't just write. And I had that conversation with someone fairly recently where it was, and they have an audience. They have a very established audience.
Yeah.
And the conversation was, they're like, oh man, it's so hard to find a job in this market. I just left X company, like, and it's like, and then someone said, hey, I love what you write. Why don't you do it on YouTube? And it's like, I can't edit. And I'm just like, learn. You have this established audience. You have this established audience. You have people who obviously like your written stuff. Translate that into an edited goddamn video.
Yeah.
It'll be rough, especially at the start, but you just got to do it. And you've already built up an audience where people like you anyway, like regardless. And it's, I don't know.
Yeah, like it's not like it's an easy thing. Like, it's not like, oh boy, howdy.
No.
Like, just learn to edit. But as we are discovering, by the way, because like, we know.
I mean, that's literally what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're literally learning to edit right now. That's what I was doing this morning. I was recording audio and figuring out how to make it sound nice so that I could record a whole script so that I could then just throw myself into editing, even though I have very little experience doing so.
Right. Yeah. I just put out a video, and there were a number of issues, mostly with audio stuff. But and I'm just like, all right, that's the way that video is. I'm going to put what I've learned from this video and just put it into the next one. Just keep going.
Yes.
I'm really happy, though, with the results of it. I mean, last night I spent a long time finagling audio, and now I feel like my microphone sounds a lot better.
It does.
It does.
And on the other side of that, like, in the middle of editing mine, I was like, oh, I fixed the clipping problem I was having. And I was like, well, you know what? Fixed it for next time. So now this video hopefully won't have a clipping issue. I figured out how to do transitions better. And like, you learn this shit over time. And it's just like, it just seems so insane to me that like you have this established audience, you're relatively popular, and you're just like, I don't feel well learn to video edit it.
I mean, it's also,
I don't know. I get it though.
That's the thing. I understand, like, as someone who came from the prior times when you didn't have to do that, struggling to make that change. But it's just frustrating from our perspective because they have the key thing they need to succeed. It's just learning to edit.
Yes. So yeah,
it's a lot of work. I don't want to.
It is a lot of work. I will say that right now. A lot of our editing and putting things together all orbits around how do we make editing the smallest portion it can be. Like, how can we contain this?
I mean, the entire focus of our channel has been basically, guys, let's put stuff out so that we can figure out how to put stuff out. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily being as concerned with the performance of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just make the best thing we can within a certain amount of time and just get it out there. Go. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a great trial by fire.
It really has.
It really has.
Yeah.
Like, it's been like, holy shit, I'm learning so much so fast because I literally have to.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so,
yep. No, it's good. But I hope we can support these independent games media people as best we can. I hope we can just Except that this is going away. That all games media is going to eventually just become the SEO, ad revenue, farming operations that will crash and burn.
We live within the slop. We live within the slop. We eat it up. We're hungry little piggies.
Oink oink.
And let's support these creators who go out on their own to do their own thing, and like just let's get them going.
Yeah.
Get us going. Maybe that'd be a good idea. Maybe help us out.
Yeah, you know, I mean, look, we got a Twitch and a YouTube.
Yeah.
You should follow those.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should give us the monies. You should sub.
Or not even
Speaking
monies, you know,
of
just come
getting-
watch and subscribe and help us out. The numbers are
Please,
helping a lot.
please. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yes. Go watch the new Monster Hunter review that came up.
Watch
Dear
the
God.
Monster Hunter review.
I
And,
appreciate it.
that in the-
You know,
Comment and like it.
I worked on it a bit.
Yeah, like engage with our content. I'm posting the Monster Hunter review in the chat.
There's got to be a better way of being like,
But
hey,
speaking,
yeah.
go ahead. I was going to transition to the next story. That's
Oh,
what I'm
okay.
trying to do.
I just want to say there's got to be a better way. We need to not fall into the language of content creators of like, go engage with our content. Like just
Yeah,
Call to action.
engage.
call to
Yeah,
action.
The call to action when it comes to the effect on the long-term performance of your video is unfortunately huge. It's
Yeah.
a major.
Yeah.
The call to action is a big deal.
I'm currently working on animations to like make it less gross, but also pop up and tell you to subscribe and comment.
Yeah.
Right. All right. We have one last news story. Let's
Yeah,
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, speaking of getting